Today, we will kick off with Frederick Vanbrabant with a lecture, I Just Became Team Lead. Now what? So let's hear it for Frederick.
Good morning, Serbia. Thanks for joining us this early. First talk. Do you have a heavy night drinking? Yeah, sure. Well, the bars close at 12, so it can't be that hard, right? First of all, there's going to be some audience participation. I'm hoping you're ready for that. So yeah, let's kick it off. So I just became a team lead. Now what? So first of all, are there any team leads in the audience? Team lead, team coach, something lead, something like that, CTO, that kind of thing. Past, current, future, maybe? Some future team leads in the audience? No? No ambitions? Okay, a few. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll get back to that later. So, oh, that's not a click. Okay, that's a click. So yeah, your mileage may vary. So this talk is represented from my experiences and obviously a lot of books I read about the subject. But the title is a bit flu. So not everything that works in this talk might work for your team. Teams are human beings, and human beings are like a very hard problem to crack. Okay, so this beautiful stallion, that's me. Frederick Vanbrabant, great pronunciation, by the way. Maybe Frederick on Twitter. And I'm a keyboard for hire. That's just a fancy word of saying I'm a consultant. Currently, I'm an enterprise architect for the Dutch taxation system. If you don't know what an enterprise architect does, you can hire me again next year, and I'll have a talk about that part. So yeah, it's an architectural role. So the talk itself, becoming a team lead. Sure, when I just started out in software, this is what I thought a company structure looked like. You have management at the top, you have a team lead, senior developers, media developers, junior developers. Antonio yesterday gave a very good talk about what it is to be a senior developer and also what the different roles are and what you can expect. So there might be a bit of overlap with my talk at this point. But let's treat it as a quick reminder, right? What is a junior developer in my opinion? When I started, I thought a junior developer, that's a person who just came out of school, maybe self-taught, first job, not a lot of experience, so not a great developer. Now, recently, last years, I came to re-evaluate that opinion a bit. As Antonio stated yesterday, a junior developer is a developer that's very motivated. They're always very motivated, but might not be, how should I put it? They might be a bit overwhelmed with what's happening. They just got out of school or self-taught, first job, everything is coming at them. Not only do they have to master their coding environment, they also are new to the entire thing of what is a project manager, what is a company, how do you, clients, what? So it's a lot of information coming at them at the same time. So they're a bit overwhelmed. So just like take it easy there. Like you can kind of guard them a bit from all the stress surrounding them. Also, they don't have to be bad coders. Some junior developers I've worked with would be senior developers in other companies. Senior developers from some companies would obviously be just juniors in different companies. So the terms are a bit out there. Okay. Media developers, I used to think they're just better developers than junior developers. Also not the case. They are probably better developers, they have more experience, but they're also like thinking more about the stuff surrounding the company. So they're making architectural decisions that might impact the rest of the application, and they realize that some part of this application might have impact on the other part of the application. So a bigger picture, but not like out there. Oh, we skipped a role. So senior developers, as stated by Antonio, sorry, great explanation. A senior developer is not a better media developer. Yeah, the clicker is a bit off. So a senior developer is not per se a better media developer. I don't think so. That's not my opinion there. In my opinion, a senior developer is kind of on the same level as media developer. What differentiates the two is the level of involvement in the company. Senior developer has the big picture. If they take a decision somewhere in the application, they think, how will it affect the client? How will it affect the product? They're also the kind of people in a team that should be able to say, no, we're not going to implement this feature. The client wants it, but does the client really want it? Like, this has a lot of percussions, and that kind of role is a role that communicates to all the other departments from, yeah, this is a very high impact issue. Maybe we should like reconsider a bit. And then the part of the talk. So a team lead, what's a team lead? If the key-eyed of you in the audience might have noticed something here, a team lead is not like the other ones. There's not a lot of developer in that title, as you can see. Team lead doesn't have developer in the title, and that's very, very, very important, because the team lead isn't part of the development team anymore. A team lead is a support to the development team. Also, the direct colleagues of a team lead are other team leads. This is pretty important for later. This is called forecasting. So, important to know, your main job as a team lead isn't coding anymore. It's supporting the development team. It's expanding more on those soft skills you developed as a senior developer to maybe go further and actually implement them on a higher scale. And the big question, that's why I asked in the beginning, do you want to be a team lead in the future? Well, is that actually a job you want to do? If you enjoy developing the entire day, there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe a team lead isn't a role you want to pick up then. Your main goal won't be development anymore at this stage. So yeah, with all that doom and gloom out of the way, let's start some doom and gloom. Time to start your first project. So you just came in, you're a new team lead, you're up for the challenge, you want to do it? Sure. The previous team lead just left, you take the place, and they already picked a project you're going to dig into. So a lot of the legwork has been done, the sales, the pre part. So you're just going to head on to the first project. It's Strava for wine sommeliers. So it's kind of a track and compete in wine tasting kind of things. It's an app to get drunk, basically. So okay, they give the scope, and now you get some new information that the developer might not always get. And this is the budget, 100,000 euros. The time frame is 2 months. Is that scary? This is the audience participation part. Is that scary? Who thinks that's scary? Okay, cool. What's the scary part? Indeed, it's the time. The money might be scary, it's a lot of money, but 2 months? What? But okay, you're up for it? You're up for it? Okay, so let's pick a team. Okay, so now, first of all, the tech stack. You've been a developer for a few years, you've been in this tech stack. You use Vue and Blade in the front end, Laravel backend, some Laravel CMS thingy in the backend, MySQL, and a Docker environment. That's cool. But as a senior developer, just graduated to a lead developer, you've been to a lot of conferences like this. And you think, that's cool, maybe we can like kind of mix it up a bit, because I can decide it now. So you have a front-end developer, and she's always talking about React, how great React is, even Next.js, it's cool, we want to do it. Okay, let's do it. Like, let's ditch the Vue and Blade stuff. Let's have a headless front-end in React. Cool. Okay, that backend. Laravel backend, great framework, but I saw some great talks yesterday about DDD. Ports and adapters with a DDD backend. It's cool, right? You always wanted to do that. And it's a very good way to build a backend. MySQL is obviously very uncool. We're all the cool kids now. Also, when you're in Docker land, have you ever heard about this cool technology called Kubernetes? You're going to need Kubernetes in your project. So you look at the tech stack and you're like, this is cool. I can post this on Twitter and I'm going to get so many likes. That's cool. But it's your first project, right? So maybe Okay, let's scale it back a bit. Let's not do Kubernetes. Okay, it's okay. Okay, we're going to need a team to do this. So you pick this team. 2 backend developers. The first one, senior developer and a junior developer. The idea here is you have a senior developer is going to coach the junior developer, they're going to grow together, and maybe at the end of the project, after 2 months, pretty optimistic, the junior developer might be a media developer. Cool. The front-end developer, the one's been nagging about React, well, prove yourself now. You're going to do your React project. And we're going to have some DevOps. We're going to have it part-time because it's only Docker, and we ditched Kubernetes, so we only need it part-time. That's cool. So let's count it out. You have your budget, and you have your developers. So this is the controversial part of the talk. It's always the cool part. I calculated what a senior developer costs to the other company. Not the same company, but to the other company. So you're hiring a senior developer out to build this project a month. Any guesses in the audience? It's very cultural dependent. So your developer, what you charge a month to have that developer work for the project for the client. This includes pay, any benefits, licensing, machinery, electrician, everything. 2,000? Okay. 10,000? Okay, sure. Higher, lower? Anyone? 15? Higher, lower? I know, it's early, come on. Yeah, I calculated at 13,200. That's for 5 days a week, 20 days a month. Times 2, because the project is 2 months, we get this number. That's 26% of your budget gone. Junior developer, bit less. We calculated that for 2 months, 22,000. Bam. Bam. Double bam. Okay, the media front-end developer, 24%. Okay, what do we have left? Oh, right, we have that DevOps person. Okay, bam. Okay, we still have 22% of the budget left. That kinda is pretty cool. You're pretty good at this stuff. First project, 22,000 euros straight up profit. That's nice. You go. So, okay, that's all cool and all. And you now go on holiday, and you do some other team leady stuff. And you come back to the project in like a month and a half, like almost at the end of the project. And maybe it's time to check up again. So what happened here? Okay, so how's the project doing? Still 100% budget. First of all, that senior developer, well, here's the thing. DDD and ports and adapters, it's kind of hard. Also, coaching a junior developer in DDD and ports and adapter is pretty hard as well. So the senior developer took 20% more time to do that. The junior developer, on the other hand, also took at least 20% more time to do it because, well, you're a junior developer. You're learning what Git is, and at this point, they're dropping DDD in your lap. Here is the blue book. Now you go. Yeah, sure. On the other hand, that media front-end developer, always bragging about how she wanted to do React. Well, she did React, and she was, checking notes, 10% more efficient because it's a headless CMS. She only had to focus on the React stuff, so it went kind of good. So that's a big win there. The DevOps person, we only use Docker, so it's still the same. It's still the same. That's cool. Okay, so 16.7% of the budget is left. Oof. Okay, so maybe you're not good, but you're still okay-ish. It's 17,000 euros of profit. That's cool, right? We did okay-ish. So, okay, time to celebrate. And who you're going to celebrate with? Your new colleagues, who are? Yeah, too early? The team leads, indeed. So you head up to the team leads and you're like, my first project, we made some profit. That's cool. Said the head of project management or the head of marketing said like, oh, cool, really? Your first project, straight up profit. That's insane. Yeah, I remember my first project. it was, yeah, it didn't go all that well because I had the timing wrong and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's a bummer. So that reminds me, have you read the report I did for the work I did on the project? And it kind of starts to dawn on you that the people you're talking to are like head of development, team lead of development, DevOps, and marketing and design. And they're also involved in this project. Oh. Oh. Ouch. This is not good. So yeah, this is doom and gloom. This is doom and gloom stuff. Some lessons to take away from this stuff. I made it in a 4 PowerPoint bullets thing, so you can just remember it. So first of all, software is expensive. I think we all know that, but it's really the reality. We just spent 100,000 euros on probably a shitty app, and it even went over budget. So. Second of all, quality costs a lot of money. We invested a lot in DDD and headless React and PostgreSQL and kind of stuff. Costs a lot of money. If it's the quality is something debatable, but still it costs a lot of money. We invested in that, and we got some maybe less expected results from that. You're not an island. If you checked in every week, like developers hate stand-ups, right? It's kind of a known secret. Developers hate meetings, but they are there for a reason. Like have continuous connection with the rest of your team, and you're going to have information, all the information you need to don't end up in this situation. Also, communication would have solved all of this. If you just had communication from the start with everyone involved, nothing of this would have happened. So 4 points. Another cool, controversial part. Who knows this diagram, this Venn diagram? Okay, cool. Have you ever been like in a meeting and saw this, and the client was like, "Yeah, we need this and this and this," and you're very smug and you refer to this Venn diagram, and you're like, "Yeah, but if it's fast and good, it won't be cheap, and if it's fast and cheap, it won't be good." And you think, yeah, the client doesn't understand what he's talking about. You know what's happening in the client's mind at this point? He or she's thinking that developer has no idea what he's talking about. So the real reality is you are looking for good and fast or good and cheap. The client is looking for fast and cheap. They aren't interested in good. And the definition of your good is not the definition of the client's good. So if the client asks for a button that sends an email, and you go back, but for this budget and this time frame, we won't be able to implement any tests. And the client's like, "What's a test?" I don't know. If I push the button, will it send a mail? Yeah. Yeah, okay, then do that. I don't know, I don't care. So keep that in mind. Your perception of good isn't per se the same objective of what the client thinks is good. Okay, so a lot of doom and gloom, as I predicted. So keeping the team motivated, this might be cool. My next slide, it looks like it's from a yoga magazine, right? I'm always a bit, it looks a bit cheesy and up there, but I promise it's something that I kind of really carry with me. These are the 3 tenets. I used to call them trust, honesty, and context. I know it sounds a bit floaty, but it really helps. And then let's dive into it. So keep these things in mind when you're communicating, not only with your team, but also with, well, just in general. So trust first. Your team is full of intelligent people. Later in the talk, we're going to see how hiring works, but this is an important part. You're hiring intelligent people. Why don't you trust them? Like, if there are decisions to be made, why would you I don't know what the person is talking about? Well, no, you hired them for a reason. They're intelligent. Just trust them. You can't do everything yourself. That's why you have colleagues, obviously. Ownership blooms quality. Ooh, that's an agile one. So if, for example, you want to introduce a new testing framework in your team, and you introduce it, you do some research, and you introduce it, and this is our new testing framework. Your team will be like, oh, what? I have to learn it. If you go to the team and you say, hey, team, can you investigate what new kind of testing framework we want to use? The team will take ownership of that stuff, research it, and sell it back to you. And at this point, you're like, okay, yeah, sure, you do it. Okay, cool, can we do the training? Yeah, sure, you do the training. So they are self-propelled at this regard. So is it a life hack? Is it cheating? No, it's just giving people ownership of stuff. Honesty. Office politics kills motivation. I've had office politics in very small teams. I currently work more enterprisey. Office politics and enterprise is an entire new level of horrible. But nothing kills motivation as quickly as office politics. Admit when you're wrong. This is the hardest thing in software development, next to people. When you admit you're wrong about something and you just say, I don't know, or something, that creates trust and honesty to others. And you get back what you put in. So if you'd say, I'm not really sure about this, other people might adopt that same strategy, and then you can have an open conversation with people. Also, if you're very honest about what everything's happening, the situation that we discussed in the previous slides with the project that went not ideal, you don't have situations like that anymore. Next up, the context stuff. Why are we doing things? For example, there's a new client, and it's a big advertising agency, and they want to have a big project with your company, but they don't really trust you at the point. So they say, okay, maybe if you first make this first very shitty application for us, see how it goes. Next stop is the big cool application thing. Okay, and if you go to your team and you say, okay, I need you to make this small shitty app, there's no room for testing, there's no room for anything, they're going to be like, oh, I hate my job. But if you tell them, like, okay, first we have to do this small shitty app and then we can do the cool stuff, then they were like, okay, we just have to plow through. They don't have all the information, give them all the information. Get feedback, and your people will know the constraints. If they're like a small shitty app to work with, well, they know it's okay, it's a small shitty app, and the constraint is I shouldn't go overboard and I shouldn't leave my job and stuff like that, which is kind of important. So this, as I said before, this isn't all about software. This is like, if you can adopt all those principles to your life, and your life will improve, no guarantees. So, okay, trust, honesty, and context. Cool. Talking to clients. I don't have a super huge amount of time, so I'm going to quickly dive into this a bit more, bit faster. This used to be a lot of topics, but I boiled it down to some PowerPoints again. The Talking to Client Survival Guide. Okay, cool. Three big things. First of all, listen to them. They come to you with a problem. The problem they've probably been discussing for the last 2 months. They already thought about a lot of stuff. If you barge into a meeting room and you're just like, okay, you need this, and this, okay, it's very easy, do this. That doesn't work. They already have thought about this stuff. First, listen to them. Also, if you just barge in and say you need to do this and this, you're kind of an asshole. And people don't like working with assholes, turns out, at least on the software. Don't promise extra. So if they're looking for a big search implementation, you can say, okay, we can use maybe Elasticsearch or something, or this cool SaaS I found. Oh, it also has autocomplete. Maybe we can just do also autocomplete. And then a few months later, turns out you couldn't use Elasticsearch and you have to build it yourself, but you still promised the autocomplete stuff. And then now you're like, the client expects it, you didn't have budget for it. The slides, when 20% over budget, would be 40% over budget. So don't promise extra. Write it down and email it. Who likes taking meeting notes? They do. That was a trick question. Now you're always going to do the meeting notes now. No, I also love doing it. You know why? Because you can create a narrative. You take the meeting notes, you mail them afterwards, and everything is in black and white on paper. If anything comes up, at this point, you can just like, yeah, we wrote it down, I mailed to you, you accepted it. It's kind of a mini contract. And also, you look very smart with a pen in your hand. Pro tips. And the trust, honesty, and context. Yeah, it's kind of important. So also be honest with clients you take on because it reflects on you for future involvements with the companies. So if you just promise over and don't give any context to the rest of the team, for example, with a shitty small marketing application, and if you don't trust the client and your team, then you're going to have a very bad situation. Maybe not in the current project, but definitely in the future projects for your company. Okay, this is the cool part. Cool, kept it for last. Who's ever been involved with hiring at like the other sides? Because I guess most of you are employed. Okay, so cool. Everyone wants to be part of that for some reason. Everyone wants to be, yeah, I want to be part of the hiring process. And it's a cool process, but it's also not the most fun in the world. So let's go over it a bit. Who loves these things? Whiteboard challenges. Can you code and I'll look over your shoulder kind of stuff? Can you reverse a binary tree for me? Can you do it with your both hands on one knee? So yeah, why are these things still a thing? Because it's an absolute cliche. You go to a big company that looks cool and then they, oh, yeah, this is a MySQL. Horrible stuff, right? But they're there for a reason. It's actually a thing. It's a safety net. A lot of developers I had interviews with might be very eloquent in their talk, but when push comes to shove, they might not be the best developers in the world. So you kind of filter them out, and you would be amazed how quickly this happens. If you ask them to write a very, very simple application and they just, doesn't work, it can be due to stress. That's obviously also a thing. You have to keep that in mind. But if you give them a take-home exercise and they come back and you're like, this is not even not even written, then it kind of falls apart. So what are my options here? What are my suggestions? This is yeah, I'm sticking my neck out here. So what are my suggestions for hiring? It's always a thing that comes back. There are a few options. First of all, FizzBuzz. Who knows FizzBuzz? Now I should see every hand coming up because we've seen it yesterday in the opening keynote. FizzBuzz is a very, very simple application. What it does is you echo 1 to 100. Everything that's divisible by 3, you get fizz. Everything divisible by 5, you get buzz after the number. Everything divisible by 3 and 5 is FizzBuzz. Should be easy enough, right? I think most of you in the audience should be able to fix it. Now, again, stress stuff might be a thing. So everyone's here should be able to fix FizzBuzz, right? Okay, can you do it? It's a keyword? No, kidding. Already prepared it. This isn't my code. I took it from the internet for the sole reason, if anything's wrong with it, it's not my code. This is a public speaking 101. So yeah, this is the FizzBuzz. Loop over it, 1 to 100, everything divisible by 3 and 5, FizzBuzz, 3 fizz, other one buzz, otherwise just a space. Easy enough, right? You should be able to do that as a software developer. Or not, I'm no judge. Other option is ask very smart questions to see how the candidate thinks. This is a big thing in Google 2000s. It was a big hype kind of thing, questions like this. So how many golf balls are there in New York? Yeah. How many golf balls are there in New York? Yeah, okay, sure. We'll evaluate them later, the options, but yeah, that's an option to do. Gilded Rose, who's ever heard of the Gilded Rose? Cool. I think Gilded Rose is really cool. What is Gilded Rose all about? It's a repository. Next slide is the repository, but I'm just going to explain it first. It's a repository with horrible legacy code, but very contained. It's a small web application that Gilded Rose is a thing from World of Warcraft. I've never played World of Warcraft, so I'm totally out of my depth here. Apparently, it's a bar in World of Warcraft, and it's the payment service provider for that bar. I thought it was a medieval thing, but apparently they have payment service providers. And you go there and you can order beers and stuff, and it works. But the code is like extremely complicated and legacy kind of thing. It's two classes combined. But the cool thing about it, it has an extensive test suite. It has an amazing test suite. So the big idea here is that you give someone Gilded Rose, and you say, can you refactor it? The test suite still has to pass at the end, but you can just like dig in and refactor it if you want to go value object and you want to go full on and a RabbitMQ kind of stuff, or you can just like refactor it like a normal person. Those are your options there. So this is, if you want to take a screenshot, also I'll post the slides online, so you can do both. This is an amazing GitHub repository by Emily Bash. She has a big repository with a bunch of different languages. So there's Java, there's .NET, there's PHP 5, 7, and a different, like a huge amount like Go stuff. So check it out if you want. Another option is show us some open source work. This is a classic. There's obviously kind of a caveat with that one, but we'll dig into that later. Create a PR to some open source work. I really like this one, but spoilers. And talk to them like a human being. This is the controversial one. Yeah, it's also part. So let's go over them, right? So first of all, FizzBuzz. I divided it into three categories. First is the analytical thinking and software mindedness, just like the level of the developer, and how you can gauge it. Second off is how the person is socially, interacts with a team, and how you can gauge it. Third one is the future potential growth, which is also very important. First off, so FizzBuzz. What I think about FizzBuzz is you learn that they can do the basics. So it's the rating system is very complicated. It's gray is 0 is bad. Orange is okay-ish, and green is good. It's like a traffic sign without the middle part. So yeah, FizzBuzz, you can see that they know the basics. They know how to do a loop. They know how to do if. They know the modular operator, the thing you never use again. So you know that they know the basics. Is that enough? I don't know, kind of does. You would be amazed how many people fail at this stage. It's also due to the stress, but also a lot of people who come into software might not be able to solve a FizzBuzz, which might tell you something about our industry. So the second one, how many golf balls are there in New York? Yeah. You look really smart if you ask questions like that. It's really some ego stuff right there. You can see how they react in a group because you're asking them a very stupid question, and then you can see how they think, I guess. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just guesswork, and it's just how extroverted or introverted the person is. It doesn't mean anything how they react in a team. So I wouldn't really advise it at all. Gilded Rose, I think Gilded Rose is really cool. The thing about Gilded Rose is you get a lot of insight in how the person reacts in a software world, because refactoring is, in my opinion, one of the most important technical aspects of software development. It really gives you an insight in how the person thinks and how they structure code and how to do maintainable code. Also, the future growth. Is the person using value objects? Do they know what value objects are? You can go over the application afterwards together and think, oh, why did you do this? Okay, what were the other options you were thinking about, and how does that work? Again, Gilded Rose, relative small application, a lot of complexity, so that's the cool part about it. Show some open source work. Obviously, what if they don't have any? It's green, orange, green. Make a PR. You can guess what kind of project they like. So do they make a PR to Doctrine, for example? You know they're into Doctrine stuff. Do they make some PR to some obscure open source software? You can ask them a question about it. Have an actual conversation with someone. Technical level, you would think that would be very high, but it's kind of, a lot of people can bullshit a lot of things. But you can also see where they are and what they do and what moves them. This is a very important thing about like using companies stuff. So What would I suggest? I would do the actual conversation with them. When I'm not sure, I would go either to the Gilded Rose or check out if they have some open source work. If you ask them to make open source work, then you're just giving them like a lot of work. And let's be honest, they're also like interviewing with other companies, so you can't give them like 4 hours of work. Okay, cool. So obviously the trust, honesty stuff is also very important in the hiring thing. So okay, cool. My time's up, and all that's left is to thank you. So yeah, thanks for showing up. Early one. Okay, cool. Quickly, these are the credits for the slides. I have to show them, and some questions. Take it away.
Let's start with questions. Maybe Frederick, maybe questions. Oh, a lot of questions. Now, where's the... Shall we go from the, from the front? Okay.
Just a quick question. Do you actually see that team leads should be doing one-on-one meetings as well, or is it like for managers only?
I think that's very important. There's two thoughts there. So there are the informal ones and there are the formal ones. Also, you should really hammer it in that those kind of meetings aren't about race or about new promotion kind of thing. It's very informal. Just have them a lot. And I've read a book that described you should meet with everyone in your team every week. That's a lot. I think that's a lot. If you're like 10 people in your team, that's a lot of meetings. But a meeting can also be at the coffee station or tea station or whatever you drink, a rakia station. I don't know how you people operate. Just have an informal discussion with them. Where are you? What are the things that are bothering you? Where do you want to go? That's a very important one. Where do you want to go? What do you think we should do as a company to improve? It's free advice. Again, you have smart people in your company. Ask them questions. So yeah, I hope that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Next question. Yeah. Just a second. We should play catch.
Hi, Vladan Stepanovic from EY. Do you have any advice on hiring seniors? I mean, the whole talk was more about the less experienced ones, but let's say someone with 5 or 6 years or, I don't know, 10 years of experience comes in. How do you approach it?
The hiring or the...
Hiring.
The hiring. Again, have a conversation with them. Let's talk to them. Just have like, what did you do till you came like before this 10 years? What drove you? What kind of project did you do? If you're 10 years in software, you would expect them to be extremely deep into the knowledge stuff. But I've talked with developers. Also, Antonio talked with it yesterday. It was a very good point. A senior developer for 10 years isn't necessarily a senior developer. You need to talk to them and say that, okay, the coding stuff, after 10 years, you probably will be able to fix a FizzBuzz problem, I hope so. But, okay, but what charge did you take? What responsibilities did you take the last years? What's cool about the project? What do you think was cool about the project? Stuff like that. It's very hard. Hiring is hard. But I think you should go into it with a lot of discussion and just have an open conversation with the people, and the technical stuff, that will follow. So I hope that was... It's not a real answer. I know it's a cop-out, but it's a very hard question, to be honest. So, and I don't know.
Okay. Any more questions? No.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you very much, Frederick.
Thanks.